My therapist, she's always saying like, you can't expect for you to have the desire all the time to do something. You're
Right.
gonna have to do it, and as you do, the desire will come. And I think it's the battle between flesh and spirit. On like the flesh doesn't want to do something, but the spirit like, no, this is exactly what I need to do. And
I think that depression is such a taboo topic in certain families and in certain spaces that people suffer in silence. So rather than just be reclusive, because in that time you just want to be by yourself, let your friends know.
hello, Anchored family, welcome back. We are here with one more episode, and as we always start, let's start with you, Trish. What kept you anchored this week?
What kept me anchored? Sleep. Being able to just go to bed and go to sleep, the stress of the day can get to you, but being able to go to bed and wake up refreshed and start the day over and try again was just
Praise
great. Yes, praise the Lord for
God.
sleep. How about you, Artie? What kept you anchored this week?
I'm gonna like double down on that because sleep also kept me anchored this week because it was so needed. It was very refreshing. I went to sleep at a decent time almost every night, which is just like
So
first.
proud.
I think I was in bed before 10:30 every night except for one, and that's
Wow.
not my typical. So
I'm so proud that you
thank
already you
thank
did it.
you. So I was very surprised by that, and so I think sleep kept me anchored, and it also just like helped me. I felt more productive throughout the day as well, and like able to get a lot more stuff done. So I would say that sleep as well. uh Sue, what about you?
I love that for you, Artie. And Trish. I think what kept me anchored this week was my routine,
Hmm.
like keeping up with everything, having my time with the Lord, and going to the gym and having a like I think a goal, because I wasn't having any goal, just going to the gym because I like to go into the gym. And but then now I put my mind that I'm gonna be able to do pull-ups. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I'm like working out to be able to do that. So I think that helped and kept me like in a good like schedule throughout the week, and that was really helpful. And today we are going to be talking about seasonal depression. And you guys know when the weather starts to get cold, we start to be inside more often. And I think it's a topic that sometimes we don't even talk, like we don't hear a lot about it, but it's so real. And sometimes I would be saying like, oh my gosh, maybe I have depression. Maybe I'm like, but literally I didn't even know about the term seasonal depression. And moving to the US and having this like, especially here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, like 4 month of like cold, and like I do not like cold. So I didn't understand why I was so like down. So that's the topic we're gonna be talking about today. Artie, do you wanna bring up the you know
The definition.
your the definition
Definition.
and your understanding about that as a therapist?
Yes, so I'm a therapist. I'm I am not an expert, y'all, but background knowledge. So seasonal depression is also considered or called seasonal affective disorder, and it's just basically that describing of how our feelings change as the seasons change, and sometimes it can create like a chemical imbalance based off of just like how the season is. And so, for instance, when winter hits, and in the U.S. we have daylight savings time, which hopefully they'll like get rid of. Maybe we'll see. I know. I know you don't want them to get rid of it, but like the time.
No, because I like during summer, I like having the light all until 9 p.m.
But I don't think it'll like affect it like as much as like we think it would. So we'll
Right.
we'll see, we'll
Yeah.
see.
I
But
hope
anyway,
that this year.
so when winter hits and it gets darker earlier, we have shorter days and longer nights. The sun's not out as much, and so that creates like a chemical imbalance in us because it's like our body is used to having the sun out and being outside in that sense and getting vitamin D. But during that time, our vitamin D tends to be a bit lower and just things are a little bit off. And so you might experience a little bit more sadness and don't know where it's coming from. You might feel more tired. You might feel more irritability. You might experience a decrease in the things that you like. There's a lot of different symptoms that can come up during that time. And so it's just important to have conversations about it and be intentional about being aware about it, because sometimes, like you mentioned too, some people will be like, man, like what's wrong with me? Like, why do I feel sadder during this season? And not to mention, it's also the time for holidays, and sometimes that's not the best for everybody. Like sometimes it is a happy time, but for other people it can be a really hard time, especially if they've lost someone during that season or they don't have someone in their life that they used to have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like for me personally, it's not only just about the sun, but I get enjoyment hearing people enjoy themselves and seeing it. So just
Mm-hmm.
like going outside of my house and smelling somebody barbecuing, going outside of my house and hearing music playing and hearing kids enjoying themselves. That I didn't realize it before, but I feel like that really is another thing that gives me energy and really invigorates me. It's just to hear and see and smell everyone enjoying themselves. So while I'm not the most social person and going out and doing the most, I love to hear and see everyone else doing it. And I feel like during that time when we're just, it's like another version of a shutdown, if you will. Like no one really wants to go outside. It's too cold. It's, dreary. It's just nobody. And it also, because it affects everyone's mood, it's just not a great time. And it just really makes you want to stay indoors, which in the end, long term, is not really the greatest for you.
Yeah.
That is so good. I'm like, yeah, I do not want to go outside. It's cold. I'm cold. There's no reason to be out.
Yeah.
But I do miss the interaction. I definitely 100% miss the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I was like made, I feel like, to be near the beach. If I could, I would be all day there. So I feel like I miss that. I miss the summer. I miss going out. I miss seeing people and all of the things that summer brings. So the light, I do like. I think vitamin D, is that the right one?
That,
That, like, I feel like that really have a big effect in me, like huge. And I didn't know because in Brazil we have vitamin D all year long. Like there's no like that cold. Like
mhm.
so, and then once I started living here, where we have different like 4 seasons, I started to notice how I really miss like just the sunlight, just the hot of the sun, and just to be out. So yeah, what do we do with like when we are in that state of mind? Like,
Good
what do you
question.
guys do?
Yeah, no, I think some of the things that are important to do is to still try to like maintain or adjust your routine. Because when we get out of routine, it's hard, or it's really easy to kind of get into that funk. And so, even though it's colder outside, like still making sure that you're like if you exercise during the summer, maintaining some sense of movement during the winter as well. And also still like being around people and being intentional, like with being in your community and not letting that fall to the side. And also, start getting in therapy. There's a funny thing in the therapy world where it's that like we call it the fall and winter rush and then the summer slowdown, because during fall and winter we'll get like a huge influx of inquiries for therapy, and then during summer there is like such a slowdown because everyone, we say, is like happier, the sun's out, and they're getting their vitamin,
Mhm.
and things
That
just feel
makes
better
sense.
in life. So I think it's like, getting into therapy can be very helpful, and just really trying to understand and kind of get to the root of like what may be contributing to that sadness. Because, yes, there's the chemical imbalance, but also there's like the emotional side of things, of understanding like what about the season maybe makes you feel sad, or like, is there some history with the winter season or the fall season that may be associated to that, because our body can remember those things. And so if you had a really bad Christmas that was very impactful
Mm.
10, 20 years ago, your body still remembers that. And so it's just trying to like understand it in a greater depth thinking than just thinking that the it's because the weather's changing. It's just being able to be a little bit more intentional. And I also think being able to remain in a spirit of gratitude, and just remembering the things to be grateful for. So I highly recommend like gratitude journals, or just doing things that really make you happy, and like things that you can be thankful for, because that can help shift your mindset and like the way that you feel.
Mm, those are
Mm.
good things. I feel like I tips for those who doesn't like winter but have to live within that season. But I do feel like the Holy Spirit really taught me, because I remember when I started to have the desire to live here, and I was like, okay, Lord, if this is your will for me to stay in this country, I can't be miserable for at least 4 months of the year. Like,
Mm.
something needs to change in me, because it's just like not worth it. So I do believe the Holy Spirit started to give me insights of things that I could do to enjoy that season. Like, yes, staying home, maybe having like movie nights, like those things, which is completely okay, and you can do that. But also, he started to show me other things that I could do to just enjoy that season. I remember once I went to, how you call it, snowboarding, and y'all, it was so much fun. I do not like snow, I'm always cold, but because snowboarding is an exercise that you are always moving up and down to get to do the snowboarding, I wasn't cold because all of those clothes, walking up and down, I was kind of hot inside. And then I had fun. So he showed me different things that I could do to still have fun in that season. I still like what you said already. Keep like moving. I
Mm-hmm.
kept like working out, going to the gym, or finding like, I don't know, dance classes, or like different type of classes that can make you move your body and then do all those stuff. I think to me it was like really Holy Spirit giving me the desire to enjoy this season, even when my body would say no. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because I feel like my therapist, she's always saying like, you can't expect for you to have the desire all the time to do something. You're
Right.
gonna have to do it, and as you do, the desire will come. And I think it's the battle between flesh and spirit. On like, the flesh doesn't want to do something, but the spirit like, no, this is exactly what I need to do. And then you start doing it, and then you get into it, and like, yes, that was exactly what I needed to do. So I feel like there's like this battle between one and the other, and we're gonna have to get out of our comfort zone. And I'm talking about somebody who I like, the cold season is really hard for me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's when I started to get out of my comfort zone, when I started to do things that, even though I at first I wasn't really like, "Ugh, I don't feel like doing this," it really helped me and opened my eyes. Like, no, there are things that you can do, that you can enjoy, that can take you out of the seasonal depression.
Yeah, no, I definitely think when you plan for it, like, and you know that, okay, like I, or like when fall hits, or like if it's September or October, whatever it is, like being aware of like what month it kind of hits for you, being able to say, okay, next year I'm going to make sure I have this set in place to make sure that like I don't get stuck in the funk of it all. And so I really think, to a point that you made, like doing something new can be really fun. So just trying to find like the excitement of the season, I think could be really beneficial.
Yeah.
I also think it's important to be vocal about it. I think that depression
Mm.
is such a taboo topic in certain families and in certain spaces that people suffer in silence. So rather than just be reclusive, because in that time you just want to be by yourself, let your friends know, because we have community and we're okay with telling community about, oh, I need prayer for this at my job, or I have this going on with my family. But we don't really talk about the depression part. So if we are vocal and we share, hey, it's that time of the year for me. This is my time where I am struggling. So if you see me acting off, this is what's going on, but also tell your community so that they can help you to be more intentional about connecting. Because if they know Sue struggles this time of the year, let me reach out to her a little more. Let me say, okay, maybe we should meet up and go out this day or commit to going to out this many times a month. But like, don't do it in silence and suffer by
Yeah.
yourself and normalize it, because I think that is an issue, is that it's something that affects so many people,
Right.
Christians, all walks of life, but yet it's still not something that's really acknowledged, especially in the church. So I really think that we should be vocal, talk about it, and have somebody keeping you accountable. Like
Mm,
the get me out of this house, get me being
Mm,
active, let me be doing stuff and trying new things. And you may need to work a little more harder at your mental and emotional health during that time than, like the summer and the spring, because naturally we're relying on our activities and the weather. But at the end of the year, we may need to be more intentional. And that's when we probably will need to lean into our community more.
I just loved that because I feel like some of us, me included, sometimes would be expecting for others to figure out what to do with you, you know what I'm saying? And then I think that when we talk about accountability, like I have sisters who I'm accountable to, but there's not much that they can do if I don't share, if I
right.
don't speak up, if I don't like, y'all, I'm struggling, I need help. If I don't share, there's no way Artie and Trish will be able to do something.
Right.
So I think there's like this level of expectation that we create, which is completely like, I don't know where this come from. Out of like that doesn't even make sense, but there's this expectation, and we expect people to do something for us, which we may be like, I expected people to do for us what I would do for others, but you also would do for others if the others would express their needs, right? So I
100%.
feel like this is so, so good because we be thinking that people can read our mind and then like expecting that they would do something else. So yeah, I think it's really important to share, to talk about it.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think, like, just to the point of people who are like suffering in silence, it really is this factor of, feeling like you have to figure it out on your own or people
Mm.
understand. But I think when you call it out and like give it a name, it helps one be able to connect to other people who may be experiencing the same thing. But two, like, if you don't know what it is and you don't know how to name it, then you don't know how to like fight it or how to like manage it. And so I think just being intentional of speaking up about it is so important. And Trish, I know you mentioned like how in like certain spaces, especially I think like in Black households or in Christian
Yes.
spaces, you don't really hear a lot about depression. I think you're hearing more about it now, and I think
Mhm.
churches are moving in that direction of being intentional, of recognizing you sometimes you can't just pray away the depression. Like prayer does work and it's 100%, but the Lord has created people to help you alongside that, to help you like in that management. And so I think just being able to bring a space and open a space to talk about it is part of like the healing process and part of the management of it all.
And another thing that I would say is like using the time that maybe you really don't want to go out because it's cold or whatever, and then you want to stay in. Instead of watching movies that would put you in a worse state of depression, is spend time with the Lord. I think like if we shift our intention of like, yes, I'm walking through this seasonal depression, but it's just like I just can't get myself out. It's just too cold. I don't have the motivation. Go pray about it and spend time with the Lord. I mean, share with your friends, share with your community, but spend time with Him. Read your word and pray, because I feel like sometimes we could be missing out the opportunity to just grow in Him
Mhm.
during this season where we have less events, we have less things to do out. We could spend more time with Him. We could literally like take those advantage of those times that we are in, and then just add more than what we normally do just to be with Him, because He will fulfill all of our needs, like all of it. He
Yeah.
will fulfill, He will complete when we pray and when we seek Him like with our whole heart. He will do, and then having community and people praying over us. So I would highly encourage all of you guys to Yeah, you can watch movies. I'm not saying nothing against movies because I love to watch movies and all of that, but just be aware where you are at. It's like when you are sad and you want to listen to sad songs to make you cry. That's insane. I have been there, y'all. I'm not gonna judge you because I have been there. Or like, oh my gosh, I want to watch a movie just to cry today. Like, insane.
No, not
So,
me.
yeah. So don't do that. Just try to fight against the your flesh desire, just because I feel like there is a spirit, like
Hmm.
the depression, like there's a spirit that comes with it, trying to just have you down and to just keep how you say, like just keep increasing that same feeling. How you
Yeah.
say, Artie?
No, I don't think it was perseverance.
No, no. Well, it's kind of like the spirit just wanting to have that season prolonged,
Mm-hmm.
and then the flesh would do whatever it can to just keep you on that situation. So like just pray. Prayers has power, and then just spend
And
time in
worship.
his presence and worship.
Worship is
Definitely.
important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Spend time in his presence, like praying, worshiping, and learning about him.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think that really helps you.
Yeah. And I
Really
think
should help.
and I think like even like with the movies, because y'all like I love me a good Hallmark movie, like a good, you know, it's just like disgusting.
Right? Her face. She's like,
She's like, yeah. But anyway, but I love me a good Hallmark movie. But I remember like going through a season where like I was just like, man, like I'd really like to, fall in love in this like city and meet some little country bumpkin and like all of these other things, whatever the storyline is. And I
who
recognized
never? Maybe
that.
never Trish, but I'll be there.
But I was like, okay,
Action and funny movies. That's my jam.
but I just remember like watching those and like feeling sad one winter. I was like, okay, girl, like we gotta get this together. And so
Yeah.
I like kind of slowed down on watching those and started spending more time with the Lord and like in worship and recognizing that, okay, like sometimes these are helpful. Sometimes they can make me feel happy. Other times they make me feel sad, depending on like how I'm feeling just internally. So it's just good to be aware of like how you're feeling and what you're digesting in that. So like being aware of what you're watching, being aware of what music you're listening to, being aware of
Hmm.
what you're reading, and like how that can contribute to your sadness or like that feeling that you're having, because sometimes it can be making the feeling worse rather than
Mhm.
you feel better. So trying to think about what are the things that actually make me feel better, and going to the Lord and seeking His face is just what we have discovered helps us feel better.
It's like
And I
watching your
was,
entertainment because
yeah.
honestly, we're entertaining ourselves, whether it's reading a book or watching a movie or watching a video on our phones or music. Like we sometimes we're not always cognizant of what we're allowing in.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is us. I thought the show was great, but I was like, every episode I'm crying. Life is already hard
I know.
and I cry enough on my own. I'm not fitting to watch a show that's going to have me crying even more. So I literally stopped watching it because it was just like, and it wasn't like a cry, like a little cutesy cry. It was a boohoo. I was like,
Yeah.
this is not. So it is action and funny movies. And even then, I have to watch what I watch because sometimes the movies be a little too far left, and I'm like, we need to keep our mind right. So like, it's just being mindful of what you're listening to and what you're doing in your time of entertainment because that can also directly affect your mood too.
That's
That
true.
is so good. I mean, you should. I don't know. You shouldn't. It's not good for you. You don't do it. But I love This Is Us. I'm like,
That's,
but I don't mind crying as I watch a movie. I just don't like. I don't like horror movies, like things that makes me
Oh
afraid.
yeah,
Because
I'm not
then
trying to be
I
scared.
have this. Then I have the same thought as you. Like life is already too hard, and I'm already scared walking around. So I'm not gonna be trying to add more. So I have the same thought. But I was gonna say one thing that I feel is so people talk a lot about today and something that we are talking of, but sometimes they just talk about it. It's self awareness. I think
Mhm,
self awareness it's so important. It's so good. However, just having self awareness it's not enough. You
mhm.
can be self aware what is happening, but you need to do something about that
right.
because if you're I'm so self aware. I really know that those things make me feel sad, but then you keep doing it. Like, what
Yeah.
are you? So I feel like there's a lot of talk about being self-aware,
Yeah.
but there is not a lot of talk about what to do with your self-awareness. It's
Hmm.
not enough just knowing what affects you, but then
Yeah.
you have to do something to break the cycle, to do something different, to know what those things that is making you sad, to try to change the pace of things, so then you can be in a better place, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. It's the self management part too. Um,
100%.
so important because we can, like you said, we can be self aware all day. I know this about myself, but what are you going to do about it? What?
Right. And sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes we just don't want to do it
Yeah.
because it takes a lot of work, because I'm comfortable in this place, because, I mean, so many reasons. But I think we need to focus on the other side. Just imagine you are in this seasonal depression and you are feeling one day super sad, and then you just decided to just stick with it and stay in that season, in that spirit and mindset, and then you just keep adding into it.
Mhm.
What's gonna happen? Instead of this thing last 2 days, it's gonna probably be an entire week. So I think we have such like a now gratification thing. We just want to do something now that makes us okay now, and then watching the movies, even though you cry later on, in that, I feel there's like part, I have heard that before, that our brain sometimes don't know if it's us, if this is a reality or if this is a fiction. And
Mhm.
sometimes you are so surrendered in the storyline that you are just like adding, and then yes, you cry, but it's still like adding some time of like, I don't know, the chemical things that comes into you and is adding something good at that time, but then later on it's just even worse. It's just
Yeah.
like you're just getting worse. So instead of looking at now gratification, look like how I want to be tomorrow, what I want to do like after tomorrow. Do something now that makes you to get in that place for tomorrow.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think you have to be careful of like not letting like your feeling become like a part of your identity, as far as just like, if you're sad, it's not that you're a sad person. Like that's not it.
Mm,
Feeling, that's like a part of like what you're experiencing, but it's not a fact. Like it's not like you are this thing. And so it's just trying to like kind of keep it separate in some ways, as far as like sadness is a part of like the process, but like you aren't a sad person, you are experiencing sadness. And so being
mm,
okay, I'm experiencing this sadness and that's normal and that's okay, but like let's not stay in the sadness. What is one thing that I can do that like will help contribute to kind of getting to a place where I feel more like myself, rather than making sadness who you are. And so I think it's just taking small steps. So it's just, okay, what's one thing that I really enjoy? Like maybe I enjoy cooking. So today I'm going to cook a meal that happy. Or maybe I just need to go outside for like 5 minutes, like, and just get some sunshine, even if it's cold. Just try to kind of experience something different. And so I think it's just again like recognizing that okay, like sadness isn't my identity, and for us as Christians, it's like joy is our identity. That
mm.
the Lord has called us to, and that's the promise that He's given us. So it's like, how can I work more or experience more joy? And as we how that comes from spending time with the Lord and in worship and in doing some of those things that contribute to our joy.
This was really good. Yep.
We said it all.
All right.
Yeah, I hope that helped y'all.
Yeah.
Sue, what are you expecting this week?
I knew this question was gonna come, and I didn't think of. I'm expecting for more like continuing the discipline and like having the continue my schedule and have everything. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I can just sleep a little bit longer, and then yeah, trying to keep the schedule. That's what I'm expecting for myself, for me to be better on my schedule and do everything right. How about you, Trish? What are you expecting for this week?
Um, I'm expecting to be productive this week. more productive, get more things done at work, stay on top of my things at home because sometimes work is doing great and then things that need to be done around the house is not being done, or, trying to balance it all. So I'm hoping that this week is productive.
That
Okay.
is good.
How about you, Artie? What are you expecting to happen this week?
I'm expecting to maybe lean more into like my hobbies. So I really enjoy diving painting, and like I haven't done that in so long. And I have this like unfinished piece that's just sitting here that I have not touched probably since like February. And so I used to like do a diamond painting and like listen to a book. And so I really want to like get back into like, doing more of like the hobbies that I enjoy, because I've kind of slacked on that. So that is something that I'm expecting this week. Um, so yes. Well,
So,
everyone for joining us for this episode. So go out and know the whole truth and tell it in love. Have a great week. Bye.
bye.